Hello, and welcome to a continuous episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, once again, Nick Harmon. With us today, we have Dave Darnutzer of Apla-Tech, a company that invented CFS systems. What is CFS, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's a continuous flow system, and he continues to push forward despite resistance from a stubborn industry and companies that may have copied his ideas.
Talking maybe 12 and a half to 14. You go to the same system for tape tech and it's like 18 to 22. So,
okay.
Our we're sitting probably 75% the cost, but I think our value is better than the value that our competitor has. And they kind of
fair.
They jumped our coattails anyway. And we started this thing in 06 and kind of came with the slim lines in 07. And then I think it was about by 9, maybe it was 9. Yeah, I think it was 09. They came out with their version. So, but they had to kind of get around our patent. So they used a couple other ideas.
Dave is a pretty great guy. We discussed the origin of Apla-Tech and the 4 people who were instrumental in its inception. We discussed how their partner company, Dinkins Drywall, helps research the tools and how that company fine-tuned the Apla-Tech technology. We talk a lot about the efficiency of continuous flow versus regular automatic tools, and we discuss the strategy of selling a product through retail versus distribution. Dave pours on the knowledge in this, the 144th episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'd like to give a huge shout out to East Coast Drywall Tools for sponsoring the Drywall Podcast in the month of September. Never heard of them? Well, now you have. It's because of sponsors like East Coast Drywall Tools that I get to bring you sweet interviews like the one you are about to listen to. So, here goes. If you are looking for automatic drywall tools or just need parts or service on your existing drywall tools, East Coast Drywall Tools has you covered. They have a wide selection of automatic drywall finishing tools, abrasives, knives, and stilts. You'll also find a good selection of professionally refurbished tools at discounted prices with all free shipping over $100. East Coast Drywall Tools has over 35 years of experience servicing automatic tools, repairing most major brands, including but not limited to Drywall Master, Tape Tech, Level 5, Columbia, Blue Line, and Tape Pro. You'll be kept updated throughout the repair process, and you can always call for questions or updates. Visit eastcoastdrywall.com for tools or information on repairs. I think that I am going to have another interview with Derek Trout of East Coast Drywall Tools this month, but if we don't squeeze it in, you can check out my episode with Derek Trout of East Coast Drywall Tools on episode 53. It's a very good episode, and I know you'll enjoy it. But for now, let's usher in Dave Darnutzer of Apla-Tech Incorporated on the 144th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. You could probably figure it out, Dave, because you deal with serious mechanical parts each day.
Yeah, you'd think so. Wait a minute, why is this not working? Okay, let's try. Does that work?
Yeah. How's it look to you? How's it look on your end? Yeah, it looks great, man.
Looks fine, man.
You can see me. I can see you. The hair looks good.
No, the hair is old. What I got?
Handsome. Left. Some people don't have hair. They'll lose their hair. So and no shame if you're balding. No shame. I Fortunately, I have hair, but yeah, I'm thinning in like I get the widow's peaks, but that's
Uh,
like hereditary.
we can't get around that. It's mine is too.
No,
Yeah,
it's the march of time.
it certainly is.
How many years young are you, if you don't mind?
71.
71, still doing it.
Yeah, been involved with this stuff since drywall since about 81.
I I would put you in the dinosaur category.
Geez, lucky.
Dave Darnutzer with
Darn it,
Apla-Tech.
darn it,
Yeah?
sir. Apla-Tech Incorporated.
Apla-Tech Inc.
Yeah.
And
It's gonna be
Apla-Tech has come up on the show a few times. Uh, Apla-Tech is a continuous flow system for the automatic tools.
well, we actually started out in 1995. And
Okay.
we came up with the air-driven system. Now that was a compressor, and then you would attach an airline to a pump. The pumps were multifaceted. You could mix in them. You could spray textures with them. You could fill tools with them. And they were also a wash station. So it had four different things you could do with the pump. And,
Crazy.
and that was 95. And then basically in about '06 is when we came up with the continuous flow tools.
All right, all right. Let me stop. You're getting way far out ahead. I don't even know who Dave is yet. We don't even
Oh,
know. We don't even know. You're talking about mechanics already, jumping into the future. I want to know. I want to know. First of
I,
all, have you listened to any of the podcasts?
yeah, I listened to the one with Sunil a little bit. And then
Okay.
we're in the same building as Jenkins Drywall Incorporated, which is, I'm a part owner. We have
Okay.
four owners of the company. So
Jenki or G?
Jenkins,
Oh,
Denkin. So, and
Dinkins drywall out of Wisconsin.
Kaukauna, Wisconsin.
Where, Wisconsin?
Kaukauna,
How do you spell that?
Kau, again, Kauna. I know it sounds like it should be in Hawaii, but unfortunately it's not.
Yeah, yeah. But you're in Wisconsin, and Sunil, I think, was a connector. Maybe it might have been Oriana. Do you work with Oriana with her marketing and stuff?
I have a little bit, but
A little bit. Okay.
just a little bit. But in turn, yeah, we got tied into Drywall Master probably back about '06, '07, maybe '08, '07
We'll
or '08.
get into that too. So if you're listening and you haven't heard the Sunil with Drywall Master episode, I think it's pretty good. I did get one response from a listener saying that they liked it. If you're in drywall, it's a very technical episode. We talk a lot about the history of the tools, where the tools came from, like all of that stuff. So it's a good episode for that, if you like the nuts and bolts of the drywall industry and the tools. And Sunil recommended that I talk with Dave about Apla-Tech. And as I said, Apla-Tech has come up on the show before. And so we connected, and here we are on episode, this is going to be 144 of the Drywall Podcast. And we're going to dig in and find out about Dave and this crazy continuous flow system. Why you would want a continuous flow system, what inspired Dave to like come up with this crazy idea. And you and I talked on the phone a little bit, enough to like really pique my interest. I had to be like, no, Dave, I don't want to find out till the show. Like, let's keep it fresh.
Sure.
So our listeners are learning about Apla-Tech and Dave, as am I at the same time. That I think that makes it cool. So let's go back to, I mean, you're talking 95 with Dinkins. We want to go back before that, though, because 71. I mean, do you have college education, first of all? Did you go to
Yeah,
college?
yeah, I went to the University of Wisconsin, Madison.
Okay.
I got tied. I kind of went back after being out for a while. I got in the drywall industry back about '81
Okay.
when I kind of first got started. Knew the finishing aspects of it. Got worked also into the distribution end of it. So that's kind of how I was brought up through this industry. And still do some finishing when I do my little projects at home other than that.
Yeah.
But so
How did you get into drywall though? Was it like your dad, or I mean,
well,
you're going to college and then all of a sudden you're like, screw college, I want to
no,
go do drywall.
what it was is my next door neighbor was one of my best friends, and his dad was a drywaller. And we used to hang out together, and he asked if we wanted to scrap some 16 units and 32 units and 48 units and 8 units. And so I got into scrapping back when I was about, I think, 13.
Okay.
So I scrapped probably 3 summers in a row, and made $1.35 cash an hour.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
That's hard work. That's hard work too, scrapping drywall.
it is scrapping drywall, throwing it, basically getting the drywall out of the units so the finishers could come in. So
Right.
that got me, piqued a little bit of interest within the drywall industry. And then knew some people that were finishers. So I learned on that side of it. And then also knew a fellow that wanted to know if I wanted to help promote drywall, sell drywall. So I got into that end of it also. And then it kind of went a certain direction for a while. And then I was in that industry from probably about 81 till about 85, went back to school for a little bit, got my degree, and then got right back into the industry.
What degree did you get?
My communication arts,
Okay.
Bachelor of Science. So
Beautiful.
somebody always looks at me and goes, "You mean you got a BS in PR?" I'm like, oh, don't say that.
Money well spent. Good thing you went too, because Apla-Tech probably wouldn't exist without that.
The part of this whole thing, there was 4 people that were involved, and Jeff and his wife. He's the president of the company.
Okay.
And then there was his next door neighbor had the mechanical mindset. He used to rebuild cars and fly planes, and he was our technical guy. And then I came from a standpoint of marketing and selling.
Nice.
And also learning more of the technical side of the tools themselves. And so, can I put together tools? Yeah. Can we problem solve how to maybe make some changes if it has to be? Yes. I'm just working on something right now for a fellow out of Minneapolis that wanted me to make him a specific tool, so I'm working on that.
Cool. That's cool. But you're jumping from this. I'm curious about you getting into with the sales aspect or working for a drywall distributor from sort of doing drywall. So you were doing it for a little while, and then maybe somebody was like, "Hey, Dave, you're too good. You're too good to be out in the field. We need you in the showroom here selling tools or something."
Usually not who you are, it's who you know. And I knew individual was a good friend at one time, or still is. But I mean, at that time, he was a very good friend, and he kind of asked if I'd like to help promote that industry, and I said, "Well, I'll give it a shot." And it kind of worked out pretty well. And so then I worked my way through the sales aspect of it, and then I was a manager of a drywall supply yard for a number of years. And then
which yard?
Well, the last one that I worked with was out of Las Vegas, and that was a Cimarron yard, KCG Incorporated.
Okay.
Rue Materials type yard, and they're pretty big. I just heard they got bought out by one of the big guns, and they had, like, I don't know, 40 or 50 yards, I think. So in turn, I worked at 3 yards. So I was going from salesman, then up the scale up to manage a yard.
Okay.
By Jeff, who I knew, he was one of my best customers back in Wisconsin when I worked in Wisconsin, and he wanted to know if I wanted to be a part of Apla-Tech, and I said sure. So that kind of joint venture went that direction, and we've been We've been in business since 95.
Cohorts.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We've been able to, with the Apla-Tech side, we've been able to fall back on the Dinkins Drywall company, which is under the same roof. If you hear the phone ring, it might be Dinkins Drywall instead of Apla-Tech when the phone rings. But in turn, we could go out to job sites and R&D a lot of things with our tools. This is kind of what we did.
I do the same thing. I have Fresco Harmony jobs that I go do. I make money with the thing that I'm trying to sell.
Right, right.
You know, like it works. And then that's a great way to do it too, because you're constantly troubleshooting. So anytime somebody has a question about anything, the client doesn't like the color, the client this, whatever, I'm like, oh, I've dealt with that problem over the last 20 years of doing this crap. You know, I can answer most questions. I think it's really strategic. And you've got like that built-in sort of resource for income. You know, you've got a decent drywall company that makes an income that can sort of keep driving the wheel.
Part of the income of the Dinkins Drywall drove that to sustain itself and then grow from that standpoint. So that's worked out well. But
Apla-Tech existed though before you. So these guys were making tools?
Well, it started in 95 and they asked me to join in 96.
Okay.
So they in turn, so I've been here since 96. And so in turn, as you said before, we're able to utilize Dinkins to really try to fine tune what we want to come to the market with. Because when we initially started taking tools out to drywall contractors locally that we knew, what we would do is, hey, give them a try, see what you think, give us some feedback. And you'd have your feedbacks because everybody has a different idea of how things should go. But all in all, the largest percentage gave us, the feedback that we would then work on and get tools back to them, and they tell us, yep, that's kind of works for me. So then we in turn at that point said we need to go to the market with it. Okay. So we put the patent on the air system, and it went well for quite a while, and then we came up with the it was about 2006 we came up with the continuous flow system. I mean, you and I talked about that before. I mean, if you want me to kind of go through that, how we did.
You still have Dinkins Drywall. So that's how, let's talk about that a little bit. How many employees do you have with Dinkins?
Well, generally, we had up to 15 at one time.
Okay.
6 now or 7. We subcontract a lot of things out now that we didn't.
Of course.
And the biggest thing that you find, and you've probably seen this, Nick, in your industry, is we're losing a lot of good people that are retiring out. And we don't have as many good kids coming in. So a lot of kids don't want to, and I should say kids, a lot of younger individuals don't want to get into the drywall industry. And so you're trying to find good quality help is tough to find. It was the old 80-20 rule. 80% were good and 20% were like, oh my goodness. It's the opposite now. 80% are like, oh gosh, these guys, no. And 20% are good. So you got to hold on to the 20% and see what you can do to find a larger percentage of people that will want to stay in the industry.
Right. Yeah. It's easier to just do it sort of myself. I've been, if a job's too big, I really have to look at it. I can refer it out, but I just try to do the work. So I'll go and I'm spreading myself thin because I'm trying to do the product, do the podcast, which is marketing, and then do the work. So it's like, after this, I have to go to a job. And then I'm also trying to get product up to Bart's.
You don't have a meat slicer thin enough to slice you up and send you in different directions to get everything done at once.
Yeah, but I like the challenge. And I'm raising a 9-year-old. So just to add a little spice into the mix. But I do enjoy the challenge of like, how can I streamline? How can I constantly kind of an inventor like yourself. I'm always inventing new ways to create time. Uh, and I want to fill that time as strategically as possible so that I'm stretching efficiency, just like out of the tools, out of time. I think as drywallers, we have this weird built-in mechanism that forces us to look at things from a systematic standpoint. We're hanging the drywall, we're doing it over and over. We got the screws, we got the screw gun, we got the way that we do it. Don't mess with me. I'm on a roll here. I can do a house. I don't want to use a bazooka because I got my slop box. I've been using a banjo for 50 years. Don't tell me any different. And those people are fast with those systems, and there isn't a wrong way to do it. But this is a good segue because this is sort of how a drywall, and I talk with a lot of drywallers, like that's what I do. This is how we're built. And for whatever reason, we like mud. That's another part of it.
We don't like mud. I mean, you look at our pants, and our pants are all full, but we know it makes us a lot of money. You ever seen a drywall finisher that likes to get dirty? No. But what do? They wipe it on their pants, a finisher. And by the end of the day, they walk in and collect their check or whatever. Or we're done at the end of the day. What do? We take off our pants. We got to wash it. We don't like to get dirty, but we do get dirty. That's just the name of the business.
Now, tell me this. When you worked, did you take a separate change of clothes?
I did.
Like you did. I do too. Like, cause like I might have to go do a bid. You know what? I just think they're comfortable. I like put my t-shirt on and then like my regular, day wear after I get done. I don't want to be walking around in like my grubbies.
Sweatpants would get pretty heavy by the end of the day. That compound that's on both of your legs. So,
well, in the union we had to wear white Dickies, painter's pants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Up in Portland, Oregon, and that was proper. Like they made fun of me for wearing jeans. I remember the first day I showed up and I got Dickies, and it was Dickies after that, like forever and always. And I still wear white Dickies when I work to this day. Yeah. Fun fact about me. But so these guys come to Dave with this idea. They've been working on Apla-Tech. I almost want to go back prior though. Like these guys, why the heck were they starting their own tool company? Is it the same reason as all these other companies started their own tool company? They were tired of maybe Ames. They wanted to make their own tools. Or did it start out with like, we want to make a continuous flow system?
No, I think that what happens is necessity. You find that drywallers are always thinking of an easier way to do something.
Yeah.
I get constant calls from kids I should call them kids, but younger guys that are saying, hey, I got a great idea. Can you take a look at this? And
Dave, they're kids.
Well, everybody's a kid to me, I guess. But in turn, everybody thinks of an easier and a faster way to do it. That's how all this stuff gets invented.
Yeah.
The number of fellas that will call me and go, boy, I love your system. This is great. But hey, can you do this? I got an idea here. And they'll ask if we can do that or if we can't do that. So, and then we see what we can do to help them out. I mean, everybody that's out there, they want to be treated as though that we care about them, and we do. But that those fellas, if they come up with an idea, they want to be known that we're going to try and take care of it, and we do try to take care of just about everything these guys come up with. And I had a fellow one time call me up, and he was on a Perry scaffold in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Or no, I'm sorry, he's on a scissor lift. And they have those buildings that are fairly long. What they do is they split them up and they put a demising wall in them. It might be 24 feet up. And then what they do is maybe make a restaurant, one of them, and a shop. And they used to drop an acoustic, but they don't do that anymore. What they do is they just, and if you dropped an acoustic, you finished up your seam, your vertical seam. And then above that, you fire taped. because then they drop the acoustic below at a certain height. Well, now all they do is they paint everything black, and you now have to finish. So what he did is he called me, and he said he had a 3.5 box, and I said, boy, I'm having a hard time getting around all these areas in the frame system of the roof to finish all this, because they had to finish it, not just fire tape it. He said, which can you make me? Well, I made him a little 2-footer. And he called me back and said, wow, that was great. Now I can work in all these little areas that I couldn't do before. And what we try to do is we try to do a little something extra for the contractors that we know the big boys don't. And
what does that mean? Sorry, what does that mean? You made him a little 2-footer?
A 2-foot box handle, which made him a 2-foot.
Oh, okay.
And so, in that thing, the handle's only about this long, and the trigger's over here, and so the box is about only this long. So
yeah, well, now they have the little the little closet, dude. Those are awesome.
They didn't, but if you're going to continuous flow it, you got to kind of make something small that mud can go through. Or we had one fella, it was doing out of Calgary, was doing a 9-foot vertical, and he wanted to pull his beads, so he had me make him a 3-foot 10-inch box handle. Put a bend in it. So it's like pushing soft butter. He couldn't believe how easy it was, but he also knew his height compared to the height of where he was trying to get to a 9-foot. He needed an X. So he said, make me a 3-foot 10-inch box handle. And we did. So that worked out awfully well too. So we try to our customer base where other companies don't do that. And
well, let's talk about the continuous flow though. So you you did come out of the gate making continuous flow, or were you making regular drywall tools
the air tools? We made the air tools.
Now, okay, explain the difference between an air tool and, I guess, not an air or a continuous flow. What's the difference between continuous flow and air tool?
Well, think of it this way. On the right, we're trying to get to the wall on the left. So on the right, you've got either a compressor with an air line that goes to an air pump, where you put on what's called a cannon. It can be any length, but it's a tube that you fill. We call it a tube. It's not like we do have a taper tube, but you fill that up, turn a lever, fill it up pneumatically, then you turn off, and then you have an air line attached. You go over to the wall on the left, and you coat your seams, coat your angles, or whatever.
Okay.
A continuous flow, you have a airless pump on the right, material line that comes to the tools.
Okay.
And then those tools go to the wall on the left, and you don't stop. So you go through over a gallon a minute continuously with the trigger pulled.
Okay, that's important for our listener, people that don't know anything about continuous flow. Myself, pardon my ignorance, but I equate it to just, this is remedial. But when I was recently doing a job where I got to run the box, and I hadn't ran the box for a long time, and I always sort of made fun of the Graco automatic, the little you hit the button and it fills up your box. Right. And you go back. So that's a remedial design of what you're talking about. It seems like that's sort of it's spitting out material. That would be like continuous flow, but there's more to the story. I always thought that was stupid. Just pump up the damn box with mud. However, I did get to try that pump, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much less energy I was expending during the day using that pump versus cranking that pump every time I had to fill up the box. That's a remedial example of how you're creating efficiency, you're creating work efficiency by having that mud hooked up to the pump, whether it's air or having that line hooked up to the tool, whether it's air or continuous flow. Similar concept. The continuous flow is just the mud's always there.
It's always moving. What you'd end up doing is I used to buy these tubs and bring them to work, and then I'd have to ship them back on. I was making no money. So all I do, I just post when we sell systems, I said, hey, I'll post where you can get it. And they're like 17 gallons. You can drop three and a half boxes, compound, drop your water, paddle it out, drop your nose, gallons before you even stop.
Yeah, you need to sell those like Granger, like water, those horse feeders.
But see, they can pick them. Like, for example, we have what's called fleet farms here, farm and fleet.
Yeah.
All you have to do is it's a company called Miller Manufacturing. They have basically nylon handles that are rounded, flat bottom.
Yep.
Just drop your material in there and paddle it out. And we have companies that would buy two of them. They used to be like $16 plus tax. That was cheap.
Yeah.
Well, now they're, with inflation, they're about $22. I just stopped in the other day to look and see what they were costing.
That's nothing.
And yeah, you go and you spend, well, basically $50, tax included. You have now two tubs. And I've had customers, what they'll do is they'll have one guy in the tools and two guys detailing behind, and they'll have one guy that never leaves the pump. He mixes up one, drops it, and he yells and go, and then and he'll mix the other one, and as he gets down, he tell them stop, and then he just drops in the other one. Within 5 seconds, he yells back go, and there's another 14 gallons.
He's the mud bitch on that job. They yell more mud bitch, and then he has to make the mud. I'm going to interview him tomorrow.
Oh, there you go.
And he's going to tell me how much he hates his job. The mud bitch. Every Apla-Tech system comes with a mud bitch. You got a whole gaggle of kids waiting to just go do that job.
That's not a bad job, dropping and that's not a bad job at all. I think it would be easier than walking around and detailing and do all the rest of that stuff, or having to run bead or that type of thing. So.
Well, it's definitely it takes less knowledge. I mean, it's a good labor position for sure. Right. Good starting position, alongside carrying scaffold and washing the tools, which is probably something. It's something with the automatic tools. I mean, so we're in the conversation a lot on the Drywall Podcast about people just using the automatic tools, or hand finishers that go to the automatic tools. Right. We're actually talking about, a further graduation from the automatic tools to a continuous flow system for the automatic tools, which is, supersedes hand finishing by like 10,000 miles.
Yeah, you're going to find you're about probably up to 4 times more productive over the mechanicals, and about probably 10 times more productive over the hand finishers because of the speed, because of the flow rate. What you end up doing is you match the flow rate to your speed. If I'm running it down the wall,
I like that.
Nick, you go, man, I like that. I want to try it. And I go, well, Nick, you want to go faster or slower? You go, learning it. I want to go a little bit slower. I go, okay. I turn down the pressure just a little bit, and your quote is exactly the same as mine.
I love it.
Get better, turn it up, because then you're getting more confident, and you can go a little bit faster, and you confidence that you know how to use the tools. I had one customer that called me once, and I might have told you that, but generally what I will do is when a guy gets a set of tools, if they want to talk about the tools, I'll kind of go over about 3-4 minutes worth of ABCD code. This, do these things.
Uh-huh.
And he called me back the next day, and he went, Dave, I got a problem with Apla-Tech. I went, oh, geez. What's up, Kevin? He goes, man, I had to call my supplier and tell him they had to put more compound in stock. He said, I just went through 17 boxes of compound the first 2.5 hours, and I don't even know how to run these things yet. That was the speed he witnessed the first day.
Crazy.
As he's gotten better, he's bought more tools from me.
Right.
How much faster you think you're getting? He goes, probably another 50% faster than that. He said, but this is a game changer for me. Now, he's a small guy in the middle of, kind of out in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota. So he has no competition. So
what kind of, is he doing residential?
Yes.
Crazy.
Most of people that buy the continuous flow are either commercial, which would make sense. Obviously, there's a niche. We have a niche. Our tools really apply to a niche. Commercial, large commercial. I've got a number of customers that are in Michigan that do a lot of the 600-700 sheet custom houses, and they run the continuous flow because of the quickness. And
okay, it seems like it would be more challenging maybe in a choppier house, but that's probably not true. It's anywhere you're going to be flying with that box tool, you can use the continuous flow.
You need the footage in front of you. I mean, I know I don't mean to, kiss it, keep it simple, but if you got the footage in front of you, it makes total sense because you can coach your footage faster.
Okay.
And but we in turn, when we were initially came up with the continuous flow, I know I told you this before, but we were one of the fellows that worked for me. He was building a house. Well, when he was building this house, we got a phone call from USG, and he said, "I want to," because our Dinkins Drywall uses USG products, the board, the mud, the compound.
Okay.
And he said, "I've got this product I want to show you. I heard you building a house." He said, "Yeah, sure." Well, he did the gazebo in the back, and even on a 9/12 pitch, so it was a round gazebo, but it had a 9/12 pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings over. He said, "Just do level 4, and then I'm going to spray this stuff. I want you to see it." So he sprayed it on, and we're looking at that going, first thing you look at that stuff, you're thinking, oh, no, it's going to orange peel down the wall. He said, no, just leave it alone. We come back the next day. It was amazing. It self-leveled itself, even on a 9/12 pitch.
Crazy.
It was crazy.
Huh.
But what heated off was we looked in the bucket and went, wow, that's some pretty thick stuff. So we called up Graco and said, can we borrow Mark V? And Graco said, sure. So we borrowed a Mark V. We rigged up some equipment. We took it out to our Dinkins Drywall job sites, and we ran it. And we were amazed at the speed that you could run and how that pump held up to the flow rate drywall finish mud. It's not drywall finish mud is 10 boxes fairly, thick, 12 obviously a little thinner. You don't have to angles like you used to have to do it with the squeeze boxes, the hockey boxes. Angle boxes. I call them hockey boxes. And, but then we looked at that and we ran it, I don't know, maybe about 3 months. I'm surprised we didn't get a call. Where's my pump? So we looked at it and went, how come nobody else figured this out? So we put the patent on it. And that's how Apla-Tech continuous flow got started. It was on a job site at Dinkins Drywall.
Okay.
And so then we started manufacturing, patent down, and started putting them we had them on the tools on the air side, which they were called, working our way back and all over the place. But we had coaters with the air tools. And so we just said, one day I'm kind of sitting in one of our meetings and we need to put this on boxes, guys. And everybody's looking at me like, really? And I said, yeah. All we did is we took a tape tech box and dropped down the side panel and dropped down the front panel to half the height, made all the same dimensions. We actually took Sunil's blade holders. I buy parts from Sunil, from Drywall.
Okay.
And we in turn have half the weight now because you have a hole in the door. You don't have to have a big, heavy box anymore. You're flowing mud through the box.
Right.
So now cut the weight in half. The interesting aspect is when you pull the trigger, you literally have to ease off the board 50% of your effort, your boxing effort that you're normally used to. You have to come off the wall. You got to.
Yeah.
You do, just like angles. So let's say if you're at about, the old Mark V's used to be 3,300 on a 10 box, 3,300 PSI. That was maxed out.
Okay.
And as you went to your other coach, you dropped down to, let's say, 1,800 on a 12 box and 1,500 on an angle mud. So you drop down your pump. But these new pumps that they've come up with are so much better with the new motors and such, and they have a vortex in their fluid section. They had their piston will go up down. They also have a sleeve that spins like a tornado, which increases the flow rate, the pull rate.
Okay.
That pulls that up, and so you got to turn that pump down to probably about 2,400. So it's never maxed out. So it lasts longer too. But that,
and you said it was lighter. The line was lighter, which was a big deal because of that flow rate.
Well, what we did was we said to Graco, we want you to make us a pump. We took the tub of our air pump, took a Graco Mark V, flipped it vertically, attached it, and then we cut the fluid section down to half the size, put it on the bottom of the tub so it would pull the mud, and then we could run it, obviously, to the tools. Because we wanted to keep that ID, interior diameter, at a 3/8 Lumex line. So we used Graco's Lumex line. We took it to Graco, and Graco said, we don't want to make you that pump. They said, we want you to buy that pump. We looked over at that pump, which only had 2,300 top-end PSI and not 3,300 top-end PSI. We said, we don't want that pump. That's the pump they sold Ames. And the problem is when you have a 2,300 PSI, you have to increase the size of the ID because the thickness of the mud has to be pushed through, and you're pushing with less pressure. You got to increase the size of the ID of the. So they have a 1/2-inch hose, which increases.
Why did they want to sell that pump? What was the big deal?
They manufactured it. They didn't want to come up with a different version. They would have had to build our version of the fluid section, which would be flipped and then dropped into half the length.
Okay.
So we did not want our end user. I mean, they'd been using airless pumps for spraying paint for years, and nobody's ever complained about that. Well, once you go to a 1/2-inch hose, it's probably 3 times the weight. Now you have to drag that around. It is tiring. It's very tiring. So we didn't want that. And in turn, we don't get complaints from people going, man, it's tough working with that hose, because it's not. It's fairly light.
Okay.
And they put a 1/4-inch whip on it, and you in turn can make a lot of different variations that you need to get into certain angles and certain size rooms and that type of thing. So in turn, we're still, Graco was the only pump that really worked, because in their fluid section, they have a lower check ball, and then they have a middle check ball. And that lower check ball is bigger. And what it does, it pulls the mud to the middle check ball and then sends it into the pump. And if you don't have that lower check ball, it will not move the thick compound, which is drywall finish mud. It'll move, moves paint, those smaller pumps, and it'll move, texture mud, which is basically pancake batter. But the thicker muds, it won't. So you need that lower check ball to move that. And there's been a number of pumps that now have come up that also have lower check balls. So there's more than just Graco that will work with our continuous flow system. You don't have to buy a specific Tape-Tech pump.
How does that work? Do you guys work with Graco, or do you sell the pump?
Well, we sell their pumps. We're a distributor.
Okay.
A lot of distributors that we have are already Graco dealers, so we don't have the sale. We sell them the pump. They sell the pump on their end, which increases their ticket size, which is nice.
Do you target those distributors with that sales point? Like, hey, you're going to sell more of these pumps?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People are learning of our tools. Marketing is tough. There's a lot of people that you have to reach out to. You know that. You've been in that position.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to get to people. And we find that a lot of individuals find out about us, and then they go to the distributor. For example, Sherwin-Williams is a distributor. I've got online people that sell for us. Al's Taping Tools out of Minnesota. Wall Tools out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And they do a nice job, the online boys. And we've got distributors overseas. But getting back, we've also got Sherwin-Williams. And I just made up 2 estimates yesterday. I think it was yesterday, that people call in and they see that Sherwin-Williams is a distributor. So I get a call from the Sherwin-Williams people that don't know much about our tools. So I'll make the call, get the estimate together, find out what the end user wants, kind of get a feel for what he's thinking. Then I send the estimate to Sherwin-Williams. They send over him the estimate, and then I get an order.
Will you vet a distributor? So they don't carry your product. They don't carry it in stock.
You know what? I found that was happening fairly well. The distributor was holding on to product up until 2008. And then when 2008 hit, everything went down. Everybody said, no, we don't want to put stuff on the floor because that's just
Okay.
sitting there. So I find that there are some distributors, CSR, for example, a lot of they have our tools in stock. There's a number of companies that have our tools in stock, but they don't put a lot. It's not like every tool is sitting there so people can walk in and say, hey, what's that? I'd like to know more about it. And
Right.
buy it. Where a lot of things are pull through, we call them pull through sale. Where, for example, Sherwin-Williams. We used to have Sherwin-Williams put them in stock in the East Coast, and then after 2008 hit, and I think the edict came from corporate, keep that stuff off the floor. We don't want to have anything on that floor anymore, and we have to because that's just cash sitting there. And so they in turn become pass-through sales.
That's interesting because mine's more of a sit on the floor. 'Cause it's the kiosk. It first of all, it doesn't take up a lot of space, but it's like advertising.
Right.
Like so, you have to have some type of advertising that you advertise, but then they can order the product through the whatever location.
Yeah. I have a feeling it will change somewhat when this economy kind of kicks back up again. People will go, oh, you know what? I'll put tools back in. It's all pull through. It's all demand. You know that. If somebody comes to a distributor and says, I want to find out about next product, you'll get the call if they don't know about it.
It's interesting that it's up to the product manufacturer to create the demand and not the retailer, especially in drywall.
They have so many things they got to worry about. And in drywall, I learned when I was on the distribution side that drywall tools were not a large component. They made a lot more money putting their time in on selling steel, board, compounds.
Yeah.
Insulation, different products. You spend 20 minutes talking to a customer about tools, you didn't make much money. You spend the 20 minutes talking to a customer about everything else, you made a lot of money. So that
like hey, you guys should be buying all your board from us. That could be a multi-million-dollar conversation versus hey, have you tried this colored mud? You can do an accent wall.
And I understand that's just the nature of the beast. So, you try your best to get to as much as information to the end users as you can, and then that becomes pulled back through a lot of distributors. And some distributors, when they would order tools and their customers said, boy, I like this stuff. Well, then that would kind of, before '08, that would pull in more product into distributors, and they would let it sit on the floor. But again, '08 kind of made some big changes and a lot of marketing approaches by the distributors. The market's been a little slow here for the last, I don't know, year and a half, maybe. I find through distributors, they're saying the same thing, but it's starting to pick up a little bit now too.
I think though that this is the time to strike for my product, maybe for years, but it's when it occurs to me that when things get slower is an opportunity. There's the Warren Buffett, and that's always the time to buy, like that sort of thing. But it's like you can try new things. Well, now maybe you can make that sample that you've been leaning on for a while. You can try out an Apla-Tech box on a job because maybe you have a gap in between jobs. You may be able to use that downtime to focus on diversifying or expanding your knowledge of the tools or trying a new tool. That's just kind of like, because I'm getting more people trying Fresco Harmony now. I think that it's slowed down a little bit. People have maybe had that bottle in their garage. Now they might want to try it versus when they're just slammed and they don't have time to try something new.
Right. Now, the nice thing about our end is, for example, talking to Sunil, if we find potential customers that already own a Mark V and they're a drywall finisher, well, that's an end because they've already spent 65% of the cost to get into a set of tools.
Right.
Now, a set of our tools doesn't cost much more than a mechanical set. And so, for example, let's say somebody already has drywall master boxes. Well, we can convert those into continuous flow. So
Right.
for example, if they just want to get angles and their flats and butts done with continuous flow, and they already own a Mark V, they're under $2,000 and they're flowing at 4 times the rate.
Is that the same with Tape Tech? Because those tools are compatible.
The one thing about Tape Tech is they have that RF system, radio frequency.
Okay.
And that's on the taper, and that's also on the poles and the boxes.
Okay, so they're already kind of dialed in. What about like North Star or Columbia?
We can throw anybody on we want.
Okay.
I created a video. I set up a video, and I think Sunil's got it now. I've got it. I think there's a couple other of my distributors have it, where I show how you can convert your box into continuous flow by just changing out the door. All I have to do is change out the door. And now they put on our door, which has a hole in it. And then you pull out the door of your old box, and you put in the new door, put the springs back on, put the continuous flow handle on.
Okay.
You already have a Mark V, and you are now running continuous flow. And you didn't have to spend hardly any money.
Cool. Where do I catch that video if I'm interested?
I'll send that over to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for our listeners, I mean, there's a handful of people, that are listening to the show. So they go, is it on YouTube, Apla-Tech, YouTube?
Well, it's over at Wall Tools. I think Al's might have it. I know that Drywall Master has it. Go into Wall Tools. I'm pretty sure that they've got it there, that you can take a look at it.
Okay.
Well, and it's about I don't know, maybe a 2-minute video. I show everybody how
friendly advice that needs to be on your Instagram page. Apla-Tech needs a YouTube page. You guys need to run that. You need to be, you need to have that to where I'm pointing people towards the Apla-Tech YouTube page, because that, and I don't even know if you have one, but like that page, super valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to check on the IT guy, see if he's got it.
Okay. All right. And all those videos should be on there. Whatever videos you have should be compiled into a collection on the Apla-Tech YouTube page.
Right.
And then from there you can send them over to Instagram. Flood your Instagram page with those, and then tag Drywall Masters, tag, you could do one with Columbia Tools and tag those guys.
Right.
And like that, this is the now in marketing. It's like
it's a lot different.
It's different. Yeah. You gotta, and I mean, for a person like myself, I've had to, just get good at it. There's no, I can't hire somebody,
Right.
Going back to that Mark V too, with Fresco Harmony, we have a system where we spray out the entire base coat. We were talking about that and do sanded. So those Mark Vs are coming a little more into focus in the drywall industry. I love the fact that you've had the foresight to create your tools into being universal to where if somebody is interested, they really like their brand that they use, because they do. Drywall people like the brand that they're using, that you can accommodate those people.
Right. No, it's worked out well. Like I said, we're just kind of I guess you can say we're conduit. All you do is you got to pump on the right and along the left, and the mud comes through at a certain speed. Bingo, you got it. And the nice thing about it also, even if you don't have a Mark V, let's say you had to start from scratch, a set of our tools probably are in the maybe I don't know. Depends on how you can get them. What you can get the Mark V for, because you can buy these Mark Vs everywhere. There's so many distributors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talking maybe 12.5 to 14. You go to the same system for Tape Tech, and it's like 18 to 22. So,
okay.
So our we're sitting probably 75% the cost, but I think our value is better than the value that our competitor has, and they kind of
fair.
They jumped our coattails anyway, and we started this thing in 06 and kind of came with the slim lines in 07. And then I think it was about by nine, maybe it was nine. Yeah, I think it was '09. They came out with their version. So, but they had to kind of get around our patent, so they used a couple other ideas.
And I mean, the advantage is the infrastructure. Like
Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's a thing of beauty for them. You've got this infrastructure. You've created the market.
yeah, and and the thing is, we've got distributors overseas too. I mean, we've been selling tools in a lot of different markets, as everybody does. Tape Tech's done a good job of selling overseas, and I think we've done a decent job of it. We're not as big a company as they are, so they have a little more marketing dollars that they can work with than we do.
Yeah.
But still, it's worked out well. We're happy.
Yeah. Yeah, you work with what you got. You work with what you got. Great insight, great interview. Where's Apla-Tech headed now? Oh, it occurred to me too while we were talking that, did you say conduit?
I'm just kidding. Something with it. Basically, where it's a pole.
No, like that's such a great name. Like that would be such a great name for your company.
There you go.
My marketing brain, I sort of, I think I'm a pretty good marketer. I've had to be, but I love the creative aspect of marketing. I really do. Like if everything dissolved and I went bankrupt and something happened, I would want to go get a job being a marketer. I'd call Dave up and be like, Dave, let me handle your social media. Like I got this.
That would be a possibility.
Of course. I feel like I could get a marketing job with a lot of people in this space at this point.
You know the industry pretty well, and that's a big plus.
Yeah.
And then your approach to people and your approach to ideas.
Yes.
The way that you approach everything, and I think that you do a good job. So.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, there's a lot of companies keep that in-house in this space because it's such a unique animal. Columbia does a really good job of it. But Apla-Tech is, it's I would say of the tools out there, and I know I've talked with Sunil about it. We're trying to, try different things to get you guys on the map and get the word out that like these tools are pretty cool. This is a new system. You can use it in residential. You can use it in commercial. It might be a little bit out of your comfort zone at first, but like that's why those videos are so key, man.
Yeah.
And those testimonials, like somebody like using a regular hand tool, with a regular pump versus, a continuous flow system, like have the two videos side by side, and a racing or something,
Little interesting story. Sunil sent me a customer of his out of Chicago, Caliber Construction. And the fellow called me up and said, hey, I'm going to try your tools. And if I like them, I'll get another set. And I said, okay. I said, well, let me give you a couple little clues, which I need you to tell your guys before you hit the wall with them. I said, generally, when you box, it's 50% less push. But I said, everything is relative. In other words, everybody thinks of what's 50% less. Could be 10, could be 20. So I said, what you need to do is tell your guys 90% less push. They'll probably give you 50, and they're going to go, ooh. So 11 days later, I get a call. He says, Dave, I'm ordering a second set. I told my guys, they probably did give me 50, but they did go, ooh. So that got the whole thing about this in our industry is you can't increase or you can't increase or decrease the time when you're putting steel up. You can't do it when you're hanging rock, but you sure can do it when you're finishing it. And by also decreasing the effort. And there's where, take a look at what happens to these guys through, you got a guy who's 50 some odd years old and he's just beat up. He's had the shoulder surgery and the carpal tunnel and the back surgery because drywall's done that, finishing especially, or in rocking too, has done that.
Those butts, butts where you're putting it up, over 8 foot, or, those bands that are up high on stilts. That amount of pressure that you have to put against the wall is so exhausting. that even 50% would be an amazing advantage. And that isn't even to say, like I was talking about earlier, with just a pump, a Graco pump that's pumping the mud into your into your box saves. I was impressed by how much energy that saved. Like I was like, oh, okay, if I'm running these damn things, I don't run the tools every day anymore, but if I'm running the tools every day, I am now a proponent of that pumpless Graco pump where you turn it on and off.
You have a hand pump. If you have a hand pump, you're pumping 600-800 times a day.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And you realize that.
You're burning energy.
I tell you, but boy, it gets to the shoulder. But,
yeah. Especially
most of the time you're bent over when you're doing that. You're bent over and then pumping because the bucket's sitting on the floor. So
yeah, smart finishers will first they learn to thin their mud to the proper consistency, but then secondly, they'll put that pump up higher, if they're smart, because then you're not bending over with the box too.
Area or something like that, and boom. Yeah, it's so much easier. So.
But that flow, so not only are you getting the flow from your tub, your $20 tub, to the box, so you don't have to pump, you're also getting 50 to 80% advantage on your pressure that you're applying to the wall. That right there would pique my interest.
Yeah. And again, it's as I've talked to a number of people, we know what it's like, but when I love to hear the testimonials coming back, they go, Dave, it's like pushing soft butter now. It used to be so hard to push on boxes in certain, if you're trying to do a 10-foot piece of bead that's coming down, that first 2 foot is like, oh, it's almost like bust a gut time. So
let's talk about a little bit and then we'll wrap up. But I want to play devil's advocate because I do that on here too. Let's talk about the criticisms that you get, the pushback, for the most part, that Dave gets about the tools and how you handle those criticisms. One would be, Dave, I got this hose. I got to take it upstairs, downstairs. It's difficult. Another one would be, I don't know, it's a drywaller. I don't want to add anything to, drywall's already a pain in the ass. I don't want to add another tool to the mix. I don't know. Let's go like two of the most prevalent criticisms that you get and how you answer those criticisms.
Well, if you're talking a hose, what I always tell everybody is if you're in a large area, walk that hose and your tools all the way to the longest spot you're going to start at.
Okay.
And then work your way back towards the pump and then go past the pump and work your other way. But what I've learned to do is with a hose, let's say I'm doing a 12 by 10 with a closet, inside angle. So you got 8 verticals, 8 horizontals. I can zip that out with thicker mud with the angle head, not to thin down, in 60 seconds. What I always tell guys to do is, instead of dragging the hose, what I do is I hold the top, I flick the lower trigger, that S's the hose right out into the hallway, and then I stand on the hallway and I do one of these and it S's it right back into the next room I got to work.
Okay.
So you're not dragging it around corners. You just don't.
Okay.
So from a standpoint, there are going to be the people that go, I just don't like hoses. In our industry, and I've found, talking to so many people in these last years, that people, if they don't want it to work, they will think of reasons that it won't work for them. Yeah. Because nobody likes to divorce the way they do things. They don't want to change. And, all new dog, old tricks, or old dog, new tricks, old dog, new tricks. And so they will just say, it's something I just don't want to do. And you're not going to convince everybody to buy the tool. It's just plain and simple. So you don't try to sell the hardest guy, you sell the easiest guy. Because the easiest guy, when he's running them, will sell the hardest guy. When the guy's standing there watching him going, that guy's eating my lunch, man, dude, look at him go. So I always found that you try to sell, obviously, the easy ones by explaining everything to them so they feel comfortable and confident that they've made the correct purchase. And then people that would call you and ask you. I had one fellow talk to me for 45 minutes, convinced me to buy the tool. So I went through everything, talked about everything. He says, but this was the air system, wasn't the continuous flow. And he said, "Nah, I decided I'm not going to buy it." And I said, "Well, there's 45 minutes that I learned that, some people just don't buy no matter what. They've kind of convinced themselves that they're going to talk to you about specifics. They've already got in their mind they really don't want to buy it, but they want to hear more about it. There's tire kickers. There are people that are very interested, and they want to see how that would benefit their company.
Yeah.
And so I don't find I will go through as much information as I can, and now it's up to them whether they want to decide what to do. And the other thing that you want to do is, I always believe in customer loyalty. Two things: you tell them the truth, and so when they come back to you and say, "Well, Dave, everything you told me was going to happen happened, and I want to know more," so you in turn will give them a point that they say, "I trusted what I talked to them about. They told it exactly happened the way they said it was going to happen, and I'm doing well with them. I now want to buy more stuff." I just took a call from a guy yesterday, said the same thing. He said, "Man, I love it." And so people test, a lot of companies will test our tools because we're kind of we're the company out there that isn't the same. You got Drywall Master, Apla-Tech, Blue Line, Columbia. They're all the same under the same umbrella. The same tools, basically. It's just a different manufacturer, but same process. Pump your shoulder, boxes, and squeeze boxes. But now when you've moved over to continuous flow, that's a different animal.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure that if they're going to spend the money, that it's going to work for them, obviously. And so I try to go through every question with an answer that I hope will satisfy their question. Not trying to sell them, just trying to satisfy what question they ask me. And at that time, sometimes I'll get a sale, sometimes I won't. But at least they know more about the tools. And I've had people that have literally called me and they're, "No, I don't think so." And 2 years later, they buy them. Apparently, whatever I said kind of sold them on it. Whatever reason, maybe they didn't have the money yet, or they didn't have the job in front of them. That's a big difference, is having the type of job in front of you. Because I've had companies that call me and say, "Listen, when I get this big job, I'll call you." And sure as heck, they call me. And next thing I know is I'm selling a set of tools. So in turn, we try to accommodate every person that's out there, but I do realize I'm not going to sell everybody. And
those testimonials, I would get video testimonials of those dudes that call you up. I would, or at least written.
I try. A lot of times these guys are so busy.
Yeah.
"Dave, I'll get you one." They don't hear from them for like 3 months and go, "Hey, what happened to that testimonial?" "Oh, I'll get it for you." It's just right. Drywall finishing or drywall in itself is just time-consuming business. These kids are, depending on the size of them, if they're a smaller company, they're doing their plans at night. They're finishing during the day. So they don't have a lot of time. So every once in a while, I'll get a company that really likes a product, and they'll send me a video. So then I capitalize and use that video to either post it or and then put it on YouTube or put it on that type of thing. So.
Okay. Excellent. And then do you sell direct to consumer, or do you go through?
We try to go through distribution. There are some areas that maybe they're not. There's no distributors there. They haven't talked to anybody. For example, in Australia, I don't have a distributor out there right now. So if they call, in fact, I have a guy calling me tomorrow or today, I think later, whatever his time is. And I think he's ordering out parts for a system he already has. But we try to take it through our distributors. I mean, distributors are, they've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of customers. So that's why you funnel it towards them. You now are hitting maybe 1,000 customers in a base that they have instead of just one. So I, in turn, really try to push towards distributors.
Thank you so much for being on the Drywall Podcast. One thing I do ask is a pearl of wisdom from everybody that comes on the show. If you could bestow a pearl onto our audience, something you could put on a billboard or write down with your pen, what would that be?
You got me on the side here.
It's okay. Take your time.
I think that the biggest thing that we try to do is you want to remember that when you can save up to 40% of your finishing budget per project. So let's say, for example, they got 50,000 in their budget, their finishing budget for a specific project. You got 4 times 5, that's $20,000.
Sure.
I have $20,000 that, and let's say if the tools cost them with a pump, 13. They put 7 in their pocket in the first job, and then the next job, they put 40% of that, of the next job. So really what you're finding is you can save a lot of money on the drywall finishing budget. And there's
that is a good pearl for the sale of Apla-Tech tool. But what would be a pearl, like a broad pearl of wisdom that you could bestow for, like, you know, your own philosophy of life?
Oh, good Lord.
Come on now. Come on.
Just
I know you got one, Dave. I know you got one.
This is the old adage, you know, treat your customer base like you want to be treated. What I try to do is we think of, we're drywallers. We're Dinkins Drywall, and we know how we want to be treated as a drywall company. So take that philosophy from Apla-Tech and implement it towards, like if we were selling ourselves, our own company.
Yeah.
So that in turn, if we're able to do that, and that's why we make so many different adjustments, because we get a lot of requests where bigger companies they don't have the ability to do that. You know, they cannot make the different lengths. We can make, I had one guy call me once and he said, I got to do a 12 lid. What do you got? I said, well, I think I can make you about like 7 2-Bex handle. Sure. So I made it for him out of Michigan. And he goes, it's perfect. Which we in turn, so now the funniest little quick testimony I got from this company, they had my air system. They called me up to buy a cannon. No, the tube for a cannon, which is it's the material holder in the air system. So he says, what do you got for new? And I start talking to him, and I sold him a whole continuous flow set. And now he does tremendous amount of work with them. They bought 2 now since then. But he says, you're the only guy I know, David. I try to buy an $80 tube and you sell me $12,000 worth of CFS tools.
Nice.
But it's not that point. The point is he now has bought his second set. And that tells right there that he's doing well with the tools and they're making him money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the key, is to treat everybody out there just like we want to be treated on our drywall side.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, man. The golden rule. Love it. And I want to give a shout out to Sunil for not only coming on the Drywall Podcast, but he's just been very helpful in talking to people about my product. I know he's sort of that way. Maybe he's been that way with you, but like he just has that. He has that. Like he has that outward focus, a sort of element about him that is like. He doesn't have to do that, you know. He doesn't have to be that way. So I want to give him a shout out, and also for hooking you and I up. Very cool, you know.
Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate it. He wants me to call him right after we're done. He said, "Dave, tell me we're close. We're fairly close.
You got to tell him to listen. He'll have to listen to the episode when it comes out. Be like, dude, just it'll come out in a couple of weeks. You'll just have to listen to it."
Good guy. A very good guy. Industry. Well, very good. Well, Nick, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate you spending the time, and at any time, if anybody or if you need to talk to me again, don't hesitate.
All right, sir. You have a good rest of your day, and we will talk very soon.
All right, Nick. Take care. Well, one thing, I'm going to do a little more research on your company. I know that you sent me an email that I didn't get a chance to read through, and at that point, I'll be able to. I'm the same kind of person. If I've got something that's in front of me, I'll try to interject that into a conversation to give people a little more information. Information is the name of the game.
like relationships, like just developing relationships is key in its own right. I kind of started the Drywall Podcast to promote a product, but the byproduct was networking with all these amazing people in the industry. Like that was the byproduct. And sometimes people like Sunil come along and he'll like connect you with a bunch of people, or Aaron from Columbia, Ames and Tape Tech have been tremendously helpful. They've sponsored the podcast, so they've been helpful. So I've gotten a lot of support. CSR, you mentioned, they've been very supportive. So I've gotten a lot of support from a lot of different angles because of the show in weird ways that I would never have thought of,
Right.
And so the rewards just sort of come, and then also getting to meet, people like yourself and Sunil. It's very cool. It's hard to not know somebody after you sit and talk to them for an hour.
Oh, yeah, even longer. Anyway, all right. Well, Nick, again, thank you for taking the time and allowing us to kind of project some information out to the marketplace so they know a little bit about us. And if they need to, they can always call the 800 number, and I can give it to you if you want it.
Yeah, give the 800 number and website, any information you want to give.
Yeah, it's 1-800-827-3721.
Okay.
And Apla-Tech is APLATECH at APLA-TECH.com.
If you want to send an email, do you guys have a website?
Yeah, www.apla-tech.com. So it's apla-tech.com.
And all of your favorite distribution spots where you get a lot of your tools, you can find Apla-Tech there as well.
Yeah, I'll put that in. And the Al's is really good. Wall Tools is very good. You get overseas, there's a number of places overseas that are really good. Sherwin-Williams is good. We've sold a lot of tools through Sherwin-Williams.
Okay.
So it worked out well.
Excellent. All right, sir. Well, you have a good rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. I sure appreciate the time.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Huge shout out to Dave for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today. We appreciate your time, your knowledge, and yeah, I hope I get to meet you in the future, sir. This month on the Drywall Podcast is sponsored by East Coast Drywall Tools. If you are looking for drywall tools or just need parts or service on your existing tools, East Coast Drywall Tools is the place to go. East Coast Drywall Tools has over 35 years of experience servicing automatic tools, repairing most major brands. You can visit eastcoastdrywall.com for tools or information on repairs. You have a lot of choices when you listen to the radio at work or on your way to work or whatever. Today you chose the Drywall Podcast, and I could reach through this radio and give you a big bear hug if I could, but I can't, so I'm just going to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you have questions about the podcast, something about this episode you want to ask me, something about Fresco Harmony, whatever, you want to be on the podcast, feel free to reach out to me at info@frescoharmony.com. I'd love to hear from you. Join us next Friday and every Friday, or most Fridays, for new awesome content. If you're heading into the weekend, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And remember, keep drywalling.